And this must be your dungeon over here.
And it was not finished one day too soon. Just as the trapdoor was set in the basement floor, my soldiers caught a man stealing lead from Master James's storeroom.
I'll warrant your first guest resolved not to pay the dungeon a return visit.
This is a fortress of war. But no castle is complete without a chapel for the worship of God, without whose favor all our efforts are to no avail.
Magnificent. 2 full stories. I have scarce seen such beautiful glass, or such a noble altar. I'm deeply moved, Kevin.
This way, please, my lords.
The gatehouses are the last major construction for both castle and town defense.
Do please watch your footing, my lords. The stairs are not as yet evened. Since the gatehouses are most vulnerable, I had to design them with great care. First, a heavy timber portcullis can be lowered to block the entrance. And beyond that, a set of wooden doors which cannot be opened when the drawbar is slid into place. Arrow loops in the towers allow the archers to rake and pepper the area. And then, of course, there are murder holes cut into the ceiling, through which soldiers above can attack any intruders in the passageway. But that would imply that they could even reach this point. Rather difficult, because the gatehouse defences begin with the drawbridge. The inner end is weighted, and when supports underneath are removed, that end swings down into a pit, lifting the other end high above the moat.
Most efficient.
And now, my lords, the inner ward, the very heart of the castle. The barracks building is 2 stories high, with a slate roof.
Heaven knows we have plenty of that around here.
The frame is erected first, and the spaces between the timbers fill with wattle and door.
The soldiers will live on the 2nd floor, and the basement is for stables and many of the castle's weapons. And over there is the armourer's shed.
It's been quite a sight seeing these buildings going up around the ward, taking the place of our old huts. Those are top rooms, of course. They're for the Lord and his lady and their noble guests. But even the dogs have the finest of accommodation. I mean, look at them kennels in the east corner. And next to that is the mew for Lord Kevin's prized hunting birds. Everything's been thought of. In the castle, you no longer have to go out back when nature calls. There's garderobes built right into the walls. There's a round hole cut into the stone slab, leading right straight down to the cesspit below. Though I'll admit the garderobe isn't the most comfortable place on a cold winter night.
Your great hall will be here. I placed it in a corner of the inner ward so that only 2 new walls will be required. We have used the forces of nature to our advantage. A cistern in the tower supplies a sink with running water. It is convenience itself. And the kitchen will prove quite adequate to service the needs of a great household such as yours.
In October of 1288, more than 5 years after Master James set out the first boundary markers, Aberwyvern Castle was finally completed. The entire outside of the castle was whitewashed, making it look as if it had been carved from a single gleaming piece of stone.
I have now turned my attention to the town. Only the English will be allowed to settle here at first, as His Majesty wants it to be an outpost of loyalty in this rebellious region. And with the promise of low rents and other enticements, the town will attract a goodly number of established, industrious people. Then, once a person owns a house, he would certainly want to protect it if the town and castle were ever attacked.
I decided to settle in the town. And since I was one of the first, I got a building lot close to the well. Soon, houses spread all up and down the main streets. My house has a ground floor of packed earth covered with reeds. I covered the small window openings with oiled sheepskin to keep out the chill. And we depend upon our fire for both heat and light. Trading in wool's been strong in Europe, they say. And the hills outside of town are covered during the day with aber-wyvern sheep. We hope that as we continue to grow, King Edward will grant us a charter, so we can hold a yearly fair like the one at Chester. That would bring merchants from all over, especially for our wool. Maybe even Italians from across the sea. Imagine, Italians in aber-wyvern. Here is Thomas the shoemaker's shop. And over there's my close friend, Oliver the tailor. Looks like he's opening up his shutters to start business for the day. As the number of shops has increased, some locations have become a bit more desirable than others. Though we like him well enough, no one wants to spot behind Matthew the butcher's shop. Oh, that's Robert the barber's place. We aren't large enough for a full-time physician, so we count on Robert to cure all manner of ills by bleeding out the bad humours. The man blowing the horn over there is the town skyard, who'll take your livestock out to be grazed.
Hey, mind the window!
That's one of Lord Kevin's servants on his way to the castle. And that's where I'm headed to, now that I'm an official smith there.
Andrew had a right to be proud of the new castle. Everyone in the town was impressed. But whether the elegant Lady Catherine would be impressed when she arrived was another matter entirely.
Being bound by the duties attendant upon my station in life, and being my lord's obedient wife, I knew there was no choice but to go and make the best of it. So on April the 23rd, 1289, I arrived at the castle with my ladies-in-waiting, younger children and servants.
For much of our married life, I've been away fighting, wherever my king needed me. So Catherine has learned to manage the household on her own. She is as important to the proper functioning of our family and property as I am.
Master James and my lord spent 6 years making the castle the strongest in the land. I've set myself to work making it as elegant and comfortable as a castle can possibly be. I insisted that Master James install fireplaces in every room of our living quarters, even though it was costly. I think it much to the family's benefit to relax in these smaller, warmer rooms, away from the drafts and noise of the Great Hall, particularly in the winter when everyone is cooped up inside. I hung the walls with beautiful tapestries from Normandy and Flanders. And I also brought our collection of books from which the tutor Philip teaches our children. There's a great store in education.
I oversee the training of our own soldiers, and when there's time, I often join them for riding or hunting.
I must oversee all the servants, and though the soldiers may have much leisure time, I can always find something for the servants to do.
I was working in the forge on a quiet afternoon in May when a messenger arrived on horseback and asked to see Lord Kevin directly. his message. King Edward was coming for a visit in just a few days.
Our household has been thrown into a frenzy of preparation. And as I think back longingly to those glittering visits to the royal court, I am determined to make His Majesty's stay one that will not soon be forgotten. First, there is the matter of cleaning the castle. All of it. Then, accommodation. Lord Kevin and I will relinquish our own apartment for the King's use. Of course, we in turn will move to the steward's quarters. He to the chamberlains, the chamberlain to the marshals, the marshal to the butlers, and so on.